Where are we? Hey,
Hello, there we are. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday.
we
Pat,
got
how are you? No way. Oh, I guess Strike is around. Pat's
uh
naughty kitty.
literally just jumped up. Luckily, avoided the crotch this time. I'm a lucky man, and attacked me in the gut.
You're going to need to start wearing a cup.
I need to sleep with one for
You
sure.
should.
We
You
were talking
should.
about that. But
Sounds like a real impediment to a good night of sleep, that kitty cat.
yeah. If you're wondering why my green screen's a little fuzzy, it's because I tried to go again to the actual green screen. So it's just the virtual one here. But the cat was supermaning up to the top of the green screen and just hanging there and ripping it and biting it, and it just looked like a mess. So we're doing
Pat,
the
you've only
virtual.
known her for a couple months. I think you can just give her back to your parents.
Should I just
She's
drop
not.
her off?
No, I'm totally joking. But oh my gosh, she's giving you a run for the money, huh?
She's a terror, but I mean she's fun, so
She's
I'm not
cute.
going to
Yeah.
knock it.
And it will get better. It will even out.
And if I can handle this, all you whiny moms with your kids, your kids have nothing on managing a kitten.
Yeah, that sounds like hell. I cannot even imagine.
Send your hate mail to punchuppod.
Yeah. It's a little glimpse. It's a glimpse of what it's like to be a parent to a new baby.
Honestly, I can't imagine. I mean, the lack of sleep I've had for the last 2 weeks from getting up at 5 a.m. every day, which is nothing compared to actual parenting. I totally understand.
Those first several months, I thought I was losing my mind, truly. I've barely recovered from that 20 years ago. Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. So is that it? What else happened in your week? Anything exciting, fun, new?
Yeah, I'm working a lot, doing a lot of. It's one of those where every day after work I wanted a beer because it was a tough physical day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's only Wednesday, so that's 2 whole days of brutal actual labor work. But it's great to have a show.
Every day at 5.
Yeah. I need to recover from all that stuff I've been doing. So it's kind of nice to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I love being here with you. With all of
How's
you.
your week? What's going on with you? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not going to talk about it, but COVID.
No, I'm going to talk about it because it's COVID's still in my world. I recovered. I got it 6 weeks ago. I recovered, tested out. I've tested many times since then. I still don't feel great. I always a little bit feel like I'm about to get the flu. Like my skin is sort of achy and it progresses if I am in the heat too much or if I have to do too much, like, go shopping or walk a little bit of a distance. And I'm going to see a doctor tomorrow. But I went. So despite how I like to present, like I'm a fun person, I'm actually not all that much fun. And my poor husband.
It's a lie.
No, it's true. Loves concerts. And I don't. Like, I have 2 different times in my life left a concert early. And one, my excuse was my kid who was young. We were at John Bon Jovi and Xander was really little then and it was getting really late. And so he and I took an Uber home at like 11. It was late. And then the other time is like at 2 a.m. Josh and I were seeing Prince for probably our 6th or 7th time. He's both of our all-time favorites. And he had come on at like 1, even though we got there at 8. And then he was going to do like a post show at the Roosevelt Hotel lobby. And I had 2 little kids at home. And so at 2 a.m, I bailed. This weekend, Josh had gotten us tickets to go see this all-day festival. It's like 13 hours of music called When We Were Young. And the headliners were Blink-182 and Green Day. And I love Green Day. But there were some great bands in there. There was like 30 Seconds to Mars. There was Goldfinger. They're all like just really fun bands. They came on exactly when they were going to. It was like every 20 minutes throughout the day, 4 different stages. We drove to Vegas. We had to walk. And by the time we got there at 10:30 in the morning, I started that weird feeling. And 8 hours later at 6:30, I was in so much pain. I was like lying on turf in a corner. And finally I left. So there, we had driven to Vegas together to watch this thing. And I left Josh for the last 6 hours. And like the bands that I actually was so excited about, and I just had to go back to the hotel and just lie there sad. I was so not feeling well that I couldn't even drink my wine. And that is really the test. If I'm not drinking wine, yeah.
You've lost the will to live. I mean, I think that's when you literally
I'm not shoving a bottle of wine down my throat.
Give her the end of life pill.
Yeah.
It's over. But
anyway,
no, that's awful. I feel
you.
for you so much. And
I'm so mad.
Your family understands. They love you. Yeah, you're a fun person. They gave you COVID. So
that's right.
Really.
Poor Sandra. He keeps apologizing to me. I was like, yeah, I mean, like the proximal event of him being the one to probably bring it home, but who knows, right? But no, it's really our government and everybody. Anyway, if anybody has any remedies for this awful thing I'm feeling, I would really appreciate. I will try anything at this point. So send me all your recommendations, please. I am just
want to understand. The more you exert yourself, the more, yes. the farther you get from feeling good. So
yes,
it's the long COVID sort of protocol. I mean, it's not long COVID necessarily yet, but it's like
radical rest.
It's the effect of COVID on your body that you need more rest than anything. Like really.
Yeah. So really just lying in bed, eating and watching TV is the prescription. I will take that all day long.
I was going to say,
all the excuses in the world.
COVID.
Nothing.
Obviously.
All right. Well, we certainly have. I know you've been looking through the comments. Hello, everybody. Jessica, I'm glad that you did too. Oh, okay. Ginger, and more ginger, says Adria. Okay. I'm just gonna have to look through.
Interesting.
All of
I love
later.
Ginger. I love raw ginger, like sushi. Oh, I just chew on that raw ginger. I love that stuff.
I love raw ginger too. I love it. And Kim, you are absolutely right. It was all outdoors and we were still wearing masks, but 100% we were wearing masks but it was all outdoors, just so everybody knows. All right. Should we take a look? Time to get to the wheel?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, nothing important happened this week. We have got war crimes for all, economy of fail, worst of the week, COVID.
Updates.
Sorry, it took me a second. I should
didn't even know.
I forgot what our COVID title was, and I don't.
But that's okay. So I think I went with that, just because it's like a yup. I don't know if you ever watched what's that show? Storage Warriors, which is a terrible show where they've been on how much the storage unit that people abandon is worth.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And one of the guys' catchphrases is yup. And my best friend hates it, so I have a hat that says yup. And so in my mind, it's a COVID update, but it's like people are ignoring it, and I just kind of want to.
I mean, we even got to the point today where we're like, do we even do this again for COVID? It's so.
We thought about taking a week off, right? We're just like, maybe we'll talk about COVID this week because there's not that much news on COVID this week,
right? Except for 1,500 American souls who were told to go out and live their best life and perished just this week, just like last week.
I feel like
and the week before.
Nobody covers it, so ignoring it. I feel like even if it's not on the wheel,
we gotta just
you guys can.
But we have a few things. But
if you ever watch our show, every week we'll get to COVID.
Yeah,
even if it's not on the wheel, because we're not going to pretend it's gone.
It is not gone. COVID update, Meteor 2024, some timeline cleanses, lots of shots. Let's spin the wheel.
All right, I'm looking for a shot.
Yeah.
Close second.
All right, a timeline cleanse. I mean, I feel like maybe we should start with a shot and a timeline cleanse just to start off on the right.
Force a shot on us? Yeah.
You think so? Oh, you're so ready. Okay. I just want, I wanted to give you some props. You made that fun little graphic, so we should.
Whenever I see that graphic, it reminds me of the worst shot you can drink, which in college it was free at this bar we always went to. It was called the bar mat, because that rubber mat underneath the drinks, they would just tip it up and pour it in a shot. And if you wanted a free drink, they would just give you the spilled alcohol.
It's funny. The first time you told me about that, I thought it was the mat on your feet when you're. Oh, sorry, I already had it. I thought you had it when you're bartending. I thought it was the gunky juice on the floor. So when you first told me, and then that stuck with me, I know what you're talking about now. And now I would drink that easily, actually. That actually sounds delicious.
I mean, it's probably it's a mystery. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's just,
you never know.
Like all Fireball and
there you go. Yeah. All right. And a timeline cleanse.
Oh,
that was what we actually had. Yeah.
You got something? Let's just start off with a little friendly Halloween one. Just a cheery little word. This is the wholesomest, cutest thing I could come up with. Still.
Happy Halloween. Yeah, we'll have a Halloween in between now and our next show. All that candy. All right. That was a good one.
Back to the wheel. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, here we go. 2024. What a mess. What a total mess. This is where we stand right now. Trump at 45% in general against Biden, 44%. When you add in Kennedy and Cornel West, they tie at 35%. This is not specifically looking at the swing states, though, where Biden is faring much worse. But I don't remember how he's doing with Kennedy and West in there.
I'm not sure, but I looked at a bunch of these polls from this site, and because they report all the polls as they come out. But regardless, like this was one of the most favorable polls nationally for Biden, like losing by 1% to Trump. And then if you break it down, I think West Virginia might be the only swing state where Biden is got a clear lead.
Like a lead, or just not losing by a lot?
Well, I mean, no, I think he was actually winning in West Virginia. Maybe I got the state wrong. I don't know.
Right.
Biden was winning in maybe 1 or 2 swing states. So
that would be the other states last week. Yeah.
Aren't going to change. Like the normal, California's going to vote Dem, New York's going to vote Dem.
Right.
All the predictable ones don't even
down to the
factor
6 states.
In. It's the swing states. And he's doing terribly in the swing states.
Yeah, I mean, between NAFTA and huge populations of Muslim Americans and Arab Americans, I don't know how, Michigan has an enormous demographic of Muslim Americans. I mean, this is where he is right now. So I will never vote Biden. Muslim and Arab Americans rage at Biden in key swing states. Which is also leading to his youth problem, because obviously more young people are aware and have not been fed the same amount of propaganda, or they've been fed the propaganda about Israel, but they have other sources. And Rashida Tlaib just saying yesterday at an anti-war ceasefire rally, saying that her constituents in Michigan are saying they don't see a difference between Trump, who wants to ban Arabs, and Biden, who greenlights Netanyahu bombing Arabs in 2024. And I agree. Like the case for who's more racist.
It's all rhetoric, and Trump will come across as more racist all day, every day. And he probably is, but
the word
you talk about real world how it affects people. The fact that no one on the left and their leftist president isn't fighting for, you know, if the leftist guy is a little racist, that makes the whole country okay to be a little racist. And
Right.
I don't know, but this section's on electoral politics in 2024. So how is Biden going to do when young people are mad at him about this war? They're mad at him about Ukraine. They've seen their student loan promise disappear. They only got $1,200 and not the promised $1,800 when he won.
1,400 versus 2,000. Yeah.
Don't correct me.
Just for specificity. Also, I just want to backtrack 30 seconds because you called him the leftist president, and if you want to say liberal or on the left, yeah, like
air quote,
he's nowhere near a leftist. But yes, I hear what you're saying.
But you've got that. You've got the, if you're young and climate change matters to you because you care about the end of the planet and extinction of humanity. So all these things that young people allegedly got Biden across the finish line last time, and people of color allegedly got Biden across the finish line last time.
Right.
COVID, how he was more trusted on COVID got him across the finish line. So now we're looking at polls on Biden, and he's losing in every area. People trust Trump better on the economy. People trust Trump better on foreign policy.
Handling a crisis.
Yeah, and we're talking about like not an unknown quantity with Trump.
Right. We went through 4 years with him.
His rhetoric. We saw him as president and how terrible he was in all these areas. And the country is like, yeah, I think he's probably better than Biden because we saw Biden. They've seen Biden.
Yeah. Well, in addition to Biden's absolute, it's not even incompetence. I mean, I just think he's very right-wing evil. And for years, I've been saying I can't tell the difference between him and George W. Bush, and all the rhetoric surrounding this and the 9/11 and all that is just further, supporting that. But in addition to all of that, he is clearly sundowning. Like, he does not look like he's all there. So, to have two people, and the other thing I think is there's something about, Trump's a horror show. I cannot stand him. They're definitely going to put he just went to China for what? Why? But I think the chaos of Trump could sort of work to the benefit of preventing some of what we're seeing now. He's very transactional, and nobody can count on what his next move is, which I think is destabilizing and awful. I don't think that's the way to go. But I think compared to what Biden is doing, which is just all the old same playbook, it's hard to choose which one is more damaging. They're both just devastating is what it really is.
Yeah. And, obviously Trump, look, Democrats are hoping that the courts catch up to Trump. And I actually think they might. I'm not in the sense that they rule him out, but he could be 24th Amendmented by his own party.
Right.
To get him out. It's a clean cut, clean break, whatever. But suppose it's somebody else. And even Trump could take this tack. If any Republican ran against the blanket spending to Ukraine and Israel,
they're not going to run against that. But
they're not. But if they did, they would win easily, right?
Yeah.
So, but even if they don't run against it, they can run against how he's handling it.
Exactly.
Which is a clear-cut, easy distinction that's vague as all hell, but you just say how he's handling it, just like how he handled Afghanistan exit. You could point to some serious flaws in how Biden exited Afghanistan, but he's fumbled everything he's touched. Is the point with Biden, and he's abandoned every pledge he made. Yeah. We lost Roe versus Wade under him. You could say elect some more Democrats, which we keep hearing left and right.
But they know for sure we're not going to get to 60. So then what happens, right?
So as the person in power, when you don't have the ability to stop the Republicans that are the minority from exacting everything they want in the legislation. You can't keep blaming them.
Right.
You can't say you're the best
Yeah.
guy for the job. And your whole campaign was, we're going to work across the aisle and return some normalcy to things. We know that didn't work.
Like saying I'm the only guy who can work with the Republicans when he can't even get his own caucus in line, and he's going to blame all of the things he couldn't get passed on Manchin and Sinema and the Republicans, and then keep talking about how we need a strong Republican Party and completely ignore the base and all of the wildly popular policies across the whole political spectrum that your base has been demanding. No, they made a choice in 2020 that they would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie. It was just the luck of the draw that it happened. I actually don't think that's entirely true. I think Mitch McConnell prevented those $2,000 checks from going out. I thought Trump was going to get $2,000 checks out right before the election, and that was going to be it. But I think they all conspired because the chaos of Trump is too much to deal with. And Biden is so far right wing that Republicans are actually thrilled with we're not back in the Iran deal. He's skirting 26 federal laws to help build Trump's wall. He's, giving more money to cops, more money to war. I mean, what's not to like? He's perfect. He's busting up unions. I mean, like, he's a Republican, but they know exactly, they can manage him so much more easily. So one way or the other.
Complex that finances every politician in government could not be happier that we're about to get into three wars. We're escalating. We don't have 2 cruise ships overseas. They keep referring to it as like the U.S. just put two big ships over there. We have 2 squadrons. So we have like 50, 60 ships right on the coast over there for Syria, for Iran. We're going to get ourselves into this. We're already, I mean, you can't ask for $100 billion and have the whole world see what's happening and say, we're just funding their defense.
No, they're thrilled. In today's earnings call with defense firm Raytheon, a Wall Street analyst noted Israel's war is an opportunity that fits quite nicely with the company's portfolio. Raytheon's exec agreed they'll see a benefit on top of what we think is going to be an increase in DoD's budget, which they're totally right, because this is what he wants. $60 billion for war in Ukraine, $14 billion for arming Israel, $13 billion to militarize our border, and $4 billion to, keep pushing, provoking China. All of a sudden they keep, all the things that liberals pretended they cared about under Trump, Biden's either doubled down on, continued, and nobody talks about it at all. At all.
I mean, put that graphic. Where's the graphic again?
Yeah. Which one? The war, this one?
Yeah, it's not showing up on my
StreamYard. It's down in
no, let's blame StreamYard. It's StreamYard's fault. But,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you told me that Biden would be able to get away with asking for $13 billion for our border, like that, they surpass all expectations of getting away with shit the right wants.
100%. And AOC is not going down there in her white linens crying at the fence. There's no pushback at all. No pushback. It's just
so soft.
Repellent. Yeah. So yeah, what's going to happen? Nope. I honestly think, I don't think it's so much that people, prefer Trump. I just think young people are not going to vote, or they'll vote third party maybe, or they're just not going to. Because you cannot go through decade after decade and see nothing change. The last time we had a minimum wage increase was under George W. Bush. Come on.
Well, and this is where, as a leftist, an actual leftist, not an air quote leftist.
Just like Biden.
No, but so COVID is the critical issue in our world right now, right? It's being in our local world, like domestically, right? That alone is reason to not vote for Biden. He has normalized, and this is the vote not blue no matter who. Like, he made COVID not a thing, and it's very much a thing, and it's very much fucking up everyone in this country. So I mean, that alone it's permission to say, you know what, I could vote for Trump. Not that he's handled it terribly.
Yeah.
But under him,
at least he got us the vaccines.
The news covers it. People are aware it's a problem. They point out his flaws, and that's just one thing. Yeah. But then you throw in the war, and you throw in his abandoning his pledge on student loan debt, and you see how fucked our medical system is, and you see how inflation is through the roof, and they're trying to penalize poor people to get us out of inflation. Well, inflation is just greedy fucking capitalism, so that's never going to work, and it's not working. Right. We lost frontline workers in every industry. So, like, the point is, you don't have to like Trump to want to vote for him, but if you're a Democrat, you're unenthused at best.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how elections are won, because we're a split country. So if your side's unenthused, the other side wins.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I know Democrats are pinning all their hopes on making sure Trump goes to jail, but, you know, pinning everything that's bad about this country and the world on Trump and pretending that he's not emblematic of every Republican out there is just so dishonest anyway, because any other Republican is going to be just as bad as Trump, just as bad as Biden. Like, it's just all the same deal.
It's a mixed bag, because you have to be honest about it. So on one hand, if another person wins a Republican primary somehow, Trump's forced out, whatever, he's in jail, who knows? Right. Some other Republican ends up rising the ranks. Okay, so they don't automatically inherit Trump supporters. That's a huge problem for them. That's the hurdle they have to overcome. Right. You can overcome that by Trump endorsement. Right. There's a million ways you can overcome that. Like, I'm the guy who's going to get Trump out of jail. Right. All Trump supporters voting. Yeah. And you don't have a record to run on. You're not crazy to a lot of centrists. Right. You know, there's a lot of ways that person has a benefit. Yeah. At the end of the day. And you could look at what's going on. You could say, okay, I would have handled Ukraine differently. I would have handled, like I said before, I would not be giving 106. I would give them the money, but I would put on the human rights stipulations, and you could phrase it to where people who hate the war, hate us funding genocide, are more likely to go, you know what? Yeah. And and the outcome isn't that they vote for the guy. The outcome is that they don't get out of bed early in the rain to go vote. Yeah. That is what, I mean, listen, they're clearly setting Newsom up to take over for Biden. I'm so curious what's going to happen, how they are going to allow Kamala to bow out easily. At one point, they had floated that, like, she could be, like, if we expanded the court, she could be the next Supreme Court justice. Maybe they appoint her to some, I mean, nothing is going to have the same kind of esteem as being vice president or president, but something that allows her to say, I need to take time with my family. I'm going to be the ambassador to Switzerland or whatever. Right. Okay, but hear this out. Yeah. This is a theory out there. Okay. Michelle Obama as VP. So look at Michelle Obama as VP. Like, granted, you're not going to placate the Kamala Harris supporters. Right. But the Kamala Harris supporters are it's gaslighting. There aren't Kamala Harris supporters. Right. Yeah. So it's just people who want to make something out of it. So that you're negating the race, that it's about race. You're negating that it's about a woman. Michelle Obama is 1,000 times more intelligent than Kamala Harris. Yes. Takes her job, takes everything she did as vice president. I mean, as the first lady, her role, she was excellent from a PR perspective. I don't think she wants that. What if it's LaFonza Butler? Because she just said she's not going to run for the Senate. So she is the person that Gavin Newsom appointed from Maryland. And he picked her. You heard it here first. Breaking news. When it happens, we told you so. Mark this date. We told you so. Anyway, what a shit show.
Should we move on to more shit shows?
Yeah,
or did
but
you want to show about our new speaker?
I was going to say, you know, the new speaker. Congratulations, Republicans have. This is the thing that keeps Democrats. It gives them hope because they elected a pro-abortion, like not just pro-abortion, like he's extreme. He's a MAGA guy.
Yeah,
flat out. He's a right-wing nutter who is financed by all the anti-abortion groups, has said some crazy shit. He's super right-wing. He denied that the January 6th attacks are real. He's, you know, so this is the guy that gets Democrats enthusiastically out to vote if it's possible.
Right.
Is to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear that God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it. And
I mean, speaking like that in a place of government in the United States of America should get you yanked. That should be disqualifying.
Separation.
The fact that that still exists shows that we have no opposition. Because instead of pointing that out, Democrats will try to one-up him and talk about how much they love going to church or how worshipful they are.
We're doomed. We are doomed. But I mean, if you can't make the case to beat this guy who's so radical on all that stuff on the right.
Imagine if we had somebody radical on the left. Like, look at that guy who's anti-abortion, who talks about being ordained by God to serve, getting to be the Speaker of the House. Imagine if anybody who said she was going to bring the ruckus to Congress.
Right. Imagine if that person that came to power was like, hey, I'm so crazy. I'm supporting everything that has 60% support across the board. Anything in this country that has 60% of people on board with it, I'm going to vote for it. So Medicare for all, we're pushing for Medicare for all. Call me radical.
Yeah,
but we're going to push for Medicare. Because this guy's going to he's going to exhibit more power than any other person on the right because of his position. Now he's only going to have a position for like a month, and he's going to be booted. It's going to be back in the shit hole. But
you're right. If it were somebody on the left who were saying Medicare for all enjoys 70% of the country or 65%, canceling student debt, a Green New Deal, we're going to a living wage, like things that people are clamoring for, gun control, all of these things that are wildly popular. I will withhold my vote on absolutely every piece of legislation. I won't even let something come to the foot, whatever. Like, use your power.
And that person could change their own party.
Yeah.
That person could point the lens back at the Democrats and go, why don't you support Medicare for all? It's cheaper. It covers everybody. It's proven over and over again. We're the last country on earth, a major developed country to not offer universal healthcare, yada, yada, yada. Yep. Why don't you people in my own party?
Yeah. And you get your small, group of squad, as Cori Bush said early on, like, oh, we don't really organize our votes to leverage power. Why not? Like, that's the whole point. But you have somebody like that. It's like, I and my progressive squad here that is growing. We have Summer Lee, who just like, whatever. We're withholding our votes from anything that does not include these policies that we will fight till the end for. All right.
I don't know, but I feel like you have just said something that gets us kicked off YouTube.
Really?
No, you didn't know. But I mean, the censorship now is crazy. But
yeah,
you can't be too hard on the progressives or
just go vote for Trump. I mean, by the way, I do just want to show this. This is the chief of staff, Ronald Klain, responding to somebody saying, an Arab American, saying that he will not be able to vote for Biden because of his support for this Israeli genocide against the Palestinians. So this man, Osama, his name is actually Osama Siblani, the publisher of Arab American News, says, I will never vote Biden again. If he stands on his head, we will not meet with anyone who represents the Biden or Kamala Harris campaign because they lied to us. The response to that from Ronald Klain is Trump voters going to do Trump. And I looked up Osama Siblani. Yes, he was a George W. Bush supporter. He was a Republican, but he's a never Trumper, and he supported Biden in 2020. But even if he were a Trumper, there is a reason that Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, anybody with a soul is looking what's happening and saying, I will not vote for somebody who is endorsing, supporting, giving money to a genocide. And the response to be so flip and be like, oh, you must love Trump then.
And that's the real issue. It's like, look, even I always hypothetical it. Let's say he's right on this stuff. But even if he was right, he's not. But even if he was right, you should see that this is such a nuanced thing that people are going to be, they're going to have different takes on this stuff. You need to allow for discussion and emotion on this stuff. And for him to just throw out like 2016, like it's the Russians, it's Trumpers, you're like, that stuff doesn't reach people. So we're entering a point in our culture here where you can't be anti-Israel. I mean, our country, the public is largely supporting Palestine in this issue. Right. And more so because they haven't heard about what's happening in Palestine until recently.
Yeah.
But to be so blanket and black and white is not the right position. Even if he was right, even if he had the right take, there's nothing in that position that wins other people over. It just dismisses everyone's opinions. It's the wrong tact, left and right. And he's the fucking chief of staff.
Yeah.
Like this is
I also just think, and I mean, maybe this is just very old fashioned, but like, I actually don't really like when politicians try to like, burn each other or whatever the kids are saying now. I just like clap back, whatever. I don't know. Like what you are supposed to be doing is more important. It should not just be team sports. Even just like laughing. Thank you. Laughing about, laughing about the, disarray in the Republican Party about who's going to be speaker. Nothing could happen in Congress when there wasn't a speaker. Like that's affecting people. I don't know. I don't think it's a game. Like it's actually, all of these things are affecting people's lives. It's not a time to hop on Twitter to give your harshest burn and try to get points with the crowd. Like, I don't know. It just feels really inappropriate and beneath the level of what those offices should be aspiring to.
It does. It's the dunking on culture, It's like and we'll show some of the tweets directly from Israel later, but it is beneath everybody, and it's polarizing is the point. You should be, as a politician, as in someone in government, trying to
win people over.
Well, win people over, but like you're there for everyone.
Right.
You're not there to make people feel stupid who don't agree with you on the issue you want them to come to your side on.
Right.
Just like we don't want the guy who's super religious running the House, who's anti-abortion, saying we're all, what's it called when you're a sinner
ordained
from a Christian, a heretic? I don't know, but whatever. If you're not Christian, you're not good enough for these people.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want that guy to go, I work for everybody. I don't work for just the Christians. I'm not here for a Christian agenda.
Right.
But anyway.
We're not the red states or the blue states.
Leave the dunking for us bozos on Twitter.
That's right.
It's not your job.
All right. Let's spin it.
I'm going to try ginger for my Viagra, though. I'm reading the chat.
Strike will be very happy.
Strike. Yes. Where are we at here? Oh, let's spin it.
Yeah, baby.
Wheel is a mess. Make it bigger.
You made us smaller by comparison. Oh, look at that. Happy days.
I don't even know
While
what
you
happened
fix
there.
this whole.
Where the hell did
whatever-
we go?
I don't know. What'd
I'll
you do?
fix that.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
All right.
Shot time. 'Cause this
Shot
is-
time.
And the chat thinks we're, or at least they think I'm particularly drunk, which is weird because I have barely pregame today.
Yeah, we were kind of sprinting towards
But-
the start line today.
At the same time, I don't feel particularly intelligent right now.
Definitely blame it on the drink and StreamYard.
I'm gonna say I got long COVID I got sympathy long COVID. It's brain
Thank you.
fog.
Cheers.
Delilah.
Oh my God. Cheers. Okay.
Yeah, baby.
You know, we don't have that many timeline cleanses today, so let's see.
You got this.
Okay. Wait, I'm gonna remove the wheel. Let's see what we got. I kind of want to save the comedian one. Oh, wait, where'd your comedian? Oh, the biz. All right, ready? Here we
As
go.
you lie more and more often, it becomes less and less true that you are a good employee. Yeah. And more true that you are a good manager. If you lie too much, at some point your employees don't know what to believe, and at that point you have to move into sales.
All right, I like that.
Thankfully
Anybody's anti-business people, I'm all for. We're spinning.
Look at those shots. Just
Look at those shots.
Laugh
from
at
Yeah,
the
baby.
Oh boy. Oh my God. I hope they don't do blood work tomorrow because they'll definitely see my alcohol levels, my heightened alcohol levels. I was just trying to kill my my cough. Also, vodka doesn't taste very good when it's got a throat lozenge, Hall's menthol.
have you lost any? Are you supposed to, with the latest COVID, lose your sense of smell? It's like it's not a big.
I have not lost my sense of smell. I don't think that's
It's
particular
not
with
one of
this
the major symptoms. This.
No, although they did that whole Yankee Candle review thing again. Every time there's a spike, they look at the Yankee Candle review, and people are like, "I can't smell anything," and they say that correlates, but I don't think so. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, baby.
All right, we have so little on the economy right now, apart from it's just spiraling badly. To combat the poor, image, not image, but the what's it called? What you look at? Anyway, of giving another $106 billion to war.
Yeah.
What is that? To combat
The perception?
visuals? Yeah, the visuals of this or the whatever. Anyway, Biden is now saying that he will possibly, he's eyeing, he's not even like asking for it, he's just floating it out there, $50 billion on a domestic aid package, half of what he's asking just this week for war. And we've had no domestic aid for over a year. And that barely counts because it was basically just a giveaway to businesses to build infrastructure. But anyway.
But can I just add to this while it's
Yeah.
up? Because I didn't see this. Maybe you had this slide up earlier, but I didn't see it in our prep.
You weren't paying attention?
I was asleep
Shocker.
through
Shocking,
that
yeah.
part. But look, are the $105 billion or $106 billion or 100, as it says here, they're lumping in all these issues because they know some of them are unpopular.
Right.
Like they know people support for Ukraine is waning big time in the US.
Right.
And then they know there are a lot of people that absolutely are against funding Israel in this. So
Right.
you got two sides that you're like, if you really want funding for Ukraine,
Right.
you're going to go, well, fuck, they had to get Ukraine, you know.
Right.
So you understand that. Why wouldn't you put the domestic package in here if it's going to pass? Like if this is a must-have thing,
Right.
if this is important to you, you're going to include this in this big ass bill, or else it's not going to pass, because we know that the domestic part is not going to pass. We already know this. We've seen this from the Build Back Better and what was the initiative after that didn't
IRA,
pass?
the Inflation Reduction. Yeah, 100%. That is correct. And then the other thing, thank you, Daniel, optics. That's what I was looking for. Isn't that so sad? It took that long. And now
Brain fog.
Total brain fog. The optics. Yeah. So not only if you actually cared about any of this stuff, would you put it into the must pass, war bill, but also just as what you're saying, like put everything in this, like, so you got something for everybody, right? Like, so, I mean, I know he doesn't give a shit about any of these things, but like, by the way, broadband access, I mean, I know that it is super important, but like people are dying right now because they can't see a doctor because of, we don't have enough cancer medicine. We don't have, more people have been thrown off Medicare and their health insurance. Like there are so many issues that put it all on this one and give something to everyone and be like, this party likes this part, like nothing. Yeah. This is such bullshit. This is just bullshit.
The way they lump bills in is the corruption in Washington now, right? That's their way they do it. They pass a huge bill where nobody could say no because there's something in it that they can use against you if you didn't vote for this bill.
Right.
That's the way it's all done. But so you have to parse this out. Like if we're going to have a non-corrupt version of Washington, it's got to be separate bills for separate stuff. Maybe do it on a dollar value. A certain number has to be its own bill.
Right.
But if you really want any of this stuff, it's not going to pass unless it's in this bill.
Exactly.
And like you said, in the off chance that they do get this passed, it's not a healthcare bill. How is it not how do you not put healthcare? How is firefighters one of your issues there? I mean,
again, like some of these things, they're like very important, but there are bigger, more vital things going on right now. Disaster relief. We need that now. We need to clean the air in every building. Like there's so many things that have to happen.
I shared this, but I mean, the HUD, Housing and Urban Development, the U.S.'s own government says it would take $20 billion to end homelessness. It's not in the bill. It's not in the $50 million bill.
I mean, that's outrageous. No,
how
you're
do
right.
you give firefighters money? I mean, look, we need firefighters.
Yeah.
Global warming's
destroying the environment, so we're going to have more calamitous events, right? Yeah.
But
that's why we built more jails, because the more people you put in prison, the more you can just pay them $1 a day, like Kamala wanted to, keeping innocent people in jail so they could fight fires for $1 a day.
Let's prevent some of this stuff. Is that crazy?
It's crazy.
And Medicare for all saves money, so you don't need to finance.
There's
Medicare
no money in prevention, none at all.
But
you don't understand disaster capitalism.
Not any homelessness. Not $100 billion when this country is fucked is going to be the albatross on Joe Biden's neck that any Republican could probably beat him on.
Yeah, absolutely. This was just, I think probably everybody has seen it, but an article in the New York Times, dozens of parking lots have opened across the U.S. for working people who earn too little to afford rent.
Feel good article.
Too much.
This is one of those feel good stories.
Too much to receive government assistance. You can't afford your rent and you're working, but it's too much to get assistance. And so they've turned their cars into a form of affordable housing. Even just the phrasing of this little blurb is so disrespectful to people. It is violence to live on this street.
Look at her. She's got her fancy iPhone and fancy Poppet and a dog. Like this is a latte drinking.
Exactly. If you're so poor, why do you have a phone?
Yeah. This is the generation that is getting stories about how it's cool to live in your car. Like that's the next Gen Z and beyond they are so done with our government. I mean, they are right to be done with our government.
Yeah. I think we didn't show it, but there's an 8% approval rating of Congress right now. 8. That's where that is.
Right
You
here.
know,
There it is.
Yeah. That's just
8%.
amazing. Amazing. You know, the one good thing is because we do have a tight labor market, because we killed and debilitated so many people with COVID. We are, wrong one. We are right now having the Great Reset. Unions across the U.S. are making big contract gains as workers have reset their expectations to demand far more than just a few years ago. And that has pressured many corporations to reset and increase what they're giving in contracts. And he lists quite a few in here, which I'm not going to be able to read without my readers. But let's see. In August, 15,000 American Airlines pilots won pay increases of 46% over 4 years. 340,000 Teamster members at UPS won raises of $7.50 an hour over 5 years. Doesn't really seem like all that much as they lay it out there, but okay. With drivers' pay climbing to $49 an hour and part-time workers receiving a pay increase of 48% on average. 3-day strike earlier this month, 85,000 Kaiser Permanente workers won raises of 21%, as well as a $25 minimum wage for Kaiser's workers in California. In March, 30,000 Los Angeles school district workers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, and teachers' aides won a 30% wage hike over 4 years. And in Oregon, 1,400 nurses at Providence Portland Hospital secured raises between 17 and 27% over 2 years. So that's, you know, it's better that way than the other way, but there's still so much more. But, you know, that is a positive
It's a positive
outlook.
And if you parse through just every single group that they just mentioned in that article, frontline workers.
Yep.
And it's because the industries know they're so fucked because of COVID, and nobody is saying it. They're none of these articles don't even point it out.
Yep.
But that's because the workers have the power because of how decimated the working class is from COVID. They are so short people to fill these positions. They have to cave to our demands.
That's right. So see, it's all working out just how we planned.
That's our cheery thought of the day. COVID's going to make us so powerful. So powerful.
And then this I just pulled because I really appreciated. So Justine Bateman is the AI, like the head of the AI contingency of the SAG negotiating group. And she is saying of the 43 people that have been asked to attend these AI forums, only one artist, was a writer named Meredith Steam, was included. Film, series, visual art is the most threatened right now. And that's all they heard from one artist. Everyone else was basically a tech bro. So she calls that out and then specifically mentions the people who were in charge of calling this forum by name: Senator Schumer, Senator Heinrich, Senator Rounds, and Senator Todd Young, and says, if you want our endorsement, we will remember this. And, you know, I just really appreciate that because there's been so many times that we've seen the squad bringing the chaos and only blaming the right wing or sort of like vague generalizations of how things aren't, you know, call out, name names, call out the people who you are targeting. That is so important. So I just really respected that she did that. I wanted to highlight that.
Amen. I think she's our one good thing of the week because we.
All right, that's good. That's good to know.
But
one good thing. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, without calling these people out, like, look, I could put a vague tweet out about how healthcare needs to happen. Medicare for all is great. People in Congress aren't supporting Medicare for all, and they should. And I will. But she came to Congress saying she was going to call out people by name. Hasn't done it. She said she'd be a one-term senator. Clearly, everything she's doing is to get reelected.
Yeah.
She pre-endorsed Biden. She used to argue about endorsements and how you don't give endorsements before getting something in return. She lied about why they didn't force the vote on Nancy Pelosi, saying they would fight for $15 minimum wage. Didn't fight for $15 minimum wage. You name it. Lila, you're frozen on my screen. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can people hear you?
Damn it. All right. I'll see you in a minute. I don't know what's happening. Maybe we do need that 50 billion for internet access. I'll be right back.
We need an infrastructure bill for my computer and broadband access. You know what? I'm going to play a timeline cleanse to buy us some time so Lila can get back here. This is Israel. Oh, this is regarding Israel from Ryan Long.
It's been a few days now. I still haven't weighed in on Israel-Palestine. I honestly don't know who to post. Usually it's easy. BLM, bang. Ukraine, bang. COVID, bang. Hey, did you do your Israel-Palestine post yet? I've never missed a stand. So who'd you go with? I look at my phone, I see a lot of Republicans supporting Israel. So I go, maybe stay away from that. Then I see a lot of the people we've been calling Nazis supporting Palestine. But then get this, the people that we've been calling them Nazis with are happy Israel's getting attacked. Riddle me that. But there really is no easy answer here. Did you do your Israel-Palestine post yet?
No.
What does your manager think of that?
I'm retired.
Oh, you don't have representation right now? Obviously, I was at the front lines of getting mad at Kanye West when he was doing the anti-Semitism stuff. Everyone was thanking me for standing up for the Jewish community. So naturally, I'm seeing this happen. I go, okay, we're back with the Jews again. I see Kylie Jenner post for Israel. I think, okay, the word's in. Then boom, she's getting killed on every angle. So it's not Israel. So I start doing a bit more research. I'm seeing queers for Palestine. And generally, you want to be on the side of the queers. If you look at the things, you're not going to get in trouble if you go with what the queers are saying. Then Mia Khalifa, who we obviously support, is posting with the queers. And she's getting fired from her job. The whole reason I'm posting this is to get in better standing with my job. And by the way, I started to see that your silence is noted post popping up, so we're running out of fucking time here. If you had to pick, who would you say?
I would stay out of it like I told you.
But if you kind of have to choose, which is sort of what a situation I feel like I find myself in. But you don't understand, I gotta post to support one of them. I know to you, it might be like, oh, who cares what he thinks? A buddy of mine booked a Geico commercial from his Ukraine TikTok, so it happens. Feels like we like decolonizing. What is decolonizing? Is that just like killing the people?
It's a difficult situation.
That's literally what I was saying, man. Because normally it's pretty easy.
I don't know what the answer is.
This one's, I just want to post one of the flags and sort of be done with it. It's tougher than you think. I'm getting yelled at if I post Palestine. I'm getting yelled at if I post Israel. It's starting to feel like, if anything, I'm the victim here. I'm looking on the internet. I see Jews for Palestine. I kid you not. Also, I'm watching the parades. We're talking Times Square. Between me and you, when I see a bunch of brown people having a parade, I think it's a pretty safe bet to be on their side. Never failed me before. I mean, people are probably texting each other right now, wondering where my statement is. Israel, though, probably, right? Yeah. For me, it's a little more complicated as a Gentile, you know what I'm saying? Maybe if I look at who's getting censored, that's a good place to look, like follow the YouTube warnings. And then I'm looking at UN women, I'm thinking, you know, follow the sniz, whatever the women say is usually pretty good. They're just posting random shit that has nothing to do with it. Trans lesbians or lesbians. Can I just go with that? Just like a random blanket post, just be like, hey lesbos, just so you know, lesbos with dongs are still lesbos. Stop avoiding the dong lesbos. I can't, I feel like it's the wrong move. But you going Israel or Palestine, you thinking?
No English.
Oldest trick in the book, my friend. I wish I could do the same. Okay, so like if Native people in America took down some girls at Coachella, I'd probably be like with the natives against me, right? Like that seems right. I can talk to my representation for you if you're...
No, it's okay.
Palestine's gotta have Jewish people there, right? Like Palestine, isn't that... Am I being messed with here?
What do you think? I liked it. That was funny. No?
No, that was good. I enjoyed it.
I'm sorry I had to leave there. I'm back. Ryan Long is his name. I don't, that's the only bit of his I've seen, but
I feel like, is he a Daily Show guy?
oh, he looks kind of like one of the guys, but I don't know.
I don't watch Daily Show anymore, but
Yeah.
it feels like he's part of that.
Yeah, he's got that kind of
Maybe
clever. What was that guy? All right. Thank you for all bearing with me. I'm glad we had a 3-minute time cleanse. Ah, boy, fun times. All right, are we spinning?
Yeah, let's do it. What do we got? What do we got?
We still got
I see
COVID
some
in
shots.
Israel.
I see worst of the week. We haven't talked
yeah,
about
okay.
COVID. Did we not? We haven't even talked about Israel. Let's go the whole show with that.
Yeah, baby.
Israel.
This kind of gets us into it. Look at this segue. We didn't even really, we didn't make it happen this way, but it all kind of feeds into each other. Worst of the week. I do just want to put a disclaimer that, like, obviously there have been times we've had worst of the week that were really horrendous. This is more just like a massive bummer.
Wait a minute before you
Uh-oh.
push anything.
You got to go with all those great graphics.
All of our
put together.
budget went into the graphic.
That's right. That's right. All right. You want to introduce this one?
Worst of the week. Well, as most people know, Sarah Silverman is a Jewish person, as is Lila Charles Lay.
Lee. I can't believe you just
Lee.
mispronounced my name. That's fine.
Damn it.
Whatever. Pat Coat.
Yeah, fair. But she tweeted this on her Instagram. PSA, there's a very strange thing happening. Many are saying that it's inhumane that Israel is cutting off water, electricity to Gaza. Israel made it pretty simple. Release the hostages and we will turn it back on. Instead of pleading with Hamas to release civilian hostages, which include babies and toddlers, there are politicians, cough, cough, AOC, calling Israel inhumane. If that isn't enough for you, Israel does not need to supply Gaza with these resources, which they do for free.
Jesus.
If Hamas didn't spend billions of dollars on terrorism, they would be able to build the infrastructure to support themselves.
There are so many parts that are wrong with that, just factually, let alone where her heart is. It is so crazy. First of all, even before Hamas took hostages, the prisoners of Gaza were not getting, I think they got 3 hours of electricity a day. 3. So, that's not just like water, your generators for operations but it is water. It helps clean the water. Like that has a cascading effect when you take away the electricity. 3 hours a day is what they had before they took the hostages, number one. So that's ridiculous. Number two, Israel does not need to supply Gaza with these resources, which they do for free.
So this is a human rights issue. Clear, like the doctrine of war, whatever you want to call it. You are not allowed to starve citizens. This is collective punishment of a people for an act, even if their government, even if the official government of a country does something to people, does something to another country. You are not allowed in war to starve their population because of the actions of their government. Now
Right.
we're taking this to another extreme when we're talking about this is a group within the government, which is not, I mean, they're sort of elected as the government.
I mean,
But
the last
the
election
terrorist
was in
action was not
2006,
a
but
government. That was not a government action.
Right.
The terrorist action was some people within Hamas that did this thing.
Well,
And go ahead, correct me, please.
No. I mean, you're right, but like, for the reason, why does Israel have the power to turn on and off electricity and water? Because they are an occupying force on someone else's land, right? They shouldn't even have that ability, number one. Number two, as you were saying, like, they are doing collective punishment against civilians. I think, 60 or 70% of the civilians are under 24 and 50% are under 18. So it is a population of young people and you're destroying them. And the fact that I don't know, that Israel does it out of the generosity of their hearts, that they give water and electricity to Palestinians for free. Is she out of her head?
Even if all the people in the country approved of all these actions, it's not moral to do what they're doing.
No, you don't.
Retribution is
harm
immoral.
Civilians, exactly.
The point is, even that extreme of all of them approving it would be immoral. But
Right.
you're looking at where half these people didn't even vote because they're too young. We're
Yeah.
talking about kids.
17 years ago was the last time there was a vote.
And half the people didn't support Hamas then in the vote anyway. So you're still looking at blowing up
I'm going to
America
quibble, but I don't
with
know
a
that
magnet.
that's totally right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the exact percentage. I just don't want anybody to call
it's
us
exact.
fake news. But anyway, I mean, look at all of the times that the U.S. and it's disgusting, but like all of our invasions.
Yeah, but
I just don't understand. I mean, I'm
the part
horrified that she wrote this.
she leverages that there's an attack on babies and toddlers. Okay. There were babies and toddlers killed from Hamas, which is vile and evil and not moral. But let's do the math on the numbers on how many Palestinian kids and babies have been killed.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 in response. And
1,400 at this point.
Like
yeah.
there will never be, Palestine will never kill, Hamas will never kill 1,000 Israeli babies.
Right.
It's not going to happen. They don't have the means to. And so to argue that you have to arbitrarily kill all these civilians because they killed a couple of our babies.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to make a moral argument for Hamas.
I know. I mean, I know you're not. And I know we're not like, it's like the whole beheading of babies thing. Like there were babies who were killed and that's bad enough. Right. And then we did see, but no proof that they were beheaded Israeli babies, that Hamas had, there was no proof ever given, still not, that any babies were beheaded by Hamas. Conversely, and horrifyingly, there was video image of many different parents holding up their babies whose heads had been cut off or blown off by Israelis. And so, like, I don't want to get into a thing of like, it's all hideous, but like to act like this is okay, that Israel is committing a genocide against Palestinians and committing a war crime, internationally recognized war crime. I just am stunned, actually, that this was her take.
And her take is Israel made it pretty simple. Release the hostages and we will turn it back on. Okay, does that make, if the terrorist group within your country, so say there's a terrorist group in New York and they refuse to release the hostages, does everyone in New York, should they all die? Is that the moral position that you're having? Because that's what's happening. That'd be like California lobbing bombs into New York or something because some New Yorkers blew up a mall in California. It's worse than that because the people they're blowing up are the victims in a open air prison, basically. So
yeah,
I don't understand how she is so lacking in morality and common logical
and also
sense,
just knowledge of what's happening there. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, she's been a terrible leftist and a great leftist at the same time.
You're being ridiculous. I'll never forget being chastised by her and Al Franken in 2016.
Yeah. But this wasn't the only thing. She also retweeted this.
Oh, I see a lot of that. If you ever venture on to Facebook.
I'm getting my leg attacked at the moment, so excuse me.
It is just part of the idea of making everybody in the Arab world an enemy of Jews. And listen, there is anti-Semitism. I don't want to diminish it. Of course, there is anti-Semitism amongst Arab countries, as there is amongst Western countries, as there is in the United States, as there is everywhere, as there is, anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, Islamophobia, like that exists everywhere. And, I always feel like it's a cop-out when you start talking to people about Israel and Palestine and it's it's complicated sort of thing, because it is sort of complicated, but so is every single piece of history ever. Like nothing is as simple as what we read in the history books. It's all complicated. And what's not complicated is using the Holocaust and the decimation of 6 million Jews who were not welcomed back to where their homes were to turn around and do that to another group of people. So
Right.
that to me is not complicated.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it's not complicated. You don't have to understand what's going on over there to understand that starving and telling 2.1 million people they need to leave, and then bombing where they go to, and then giving them no exit route, and then having them go to no place. They don't have a home, so they have to exit and be homeless miles away.
Again,
Without food, without water.
Electricity.
They've told every hospital that they have to leave. So if you're a humane culture attacking another, like if the US attacked Iraq and said everyone has to leave the hospitals, Americans wouldn't support that. Like we would say, no, you can't bomb the hospitals. Like you have to allow them in the hospitals at least. But somehow the U.S. overlooks these clear war crimes, these clear, long established war crimes,
right,
of starving people and babies and children and the elderly. We're not letting fuel into the country. Without fuel, these hospitals can't exist that they're kicking everyone out of.
Right.
And when you tell the entire country to leave every fucking hospital, and then the hospital gets blown up, and then you want to blame Palestine
Hamas
for blowing up their own hospital.
Right.
There's a chance that it was actually Palestine with a missile that misfired
Hamas
or something. But
I mean, sorry, I don't want to conflate Palestinians with Hamas, right?
Oh, Hamas.
Sorry. Yeah.
But it's really unlikely when your own country is openly saying leave all the hospitals because we're going to bomb them.
And they bombed that same hospital 2 days before. What do they call it? A knock on the roof, a bomb. And I think they've also, I think there are 21 other hospitals that Israel's bombed. So yeah. Hey, I don't have access to this graphic. It's not showing up online, so I can't get rid of it to go to her apology. But I'm just going to go to her apologies.
There you
Her
go.
apology. Oh, fuck yeah. I took that down. I put it in stories for someone, realized it was a mistake to post in the stoned fury of wondering where the hostages are and all this madness. NASA gave Sally Ride 100 tampons. I don't even know what that means. But
I don't know what that means. I even thought about it before the show. I'm like, what does that mean? NASA?
I have no idea.
So Sally Ride, was she one of them blew up in the, I think maybe blew up in the, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know. It just, yeah. All right.
But the bottom line is she blamed being stoned for wanting
Posting
to wipe
something.
out an entire civilization and not being able to comprehend that. Like she was literally mad that AOC was calling out inhumane actions on the country. Like it wasn't saying don't go. AOC wasn't saying don't go to war with these people. Don't attack.
Or don't fund
Hamas,
them.
Or
Right.
it was nothing.
Yeah. It is the meekest.
Yeah,
of protests.
AOC is not even a good ally of Palestine. This is where we're at. The squad, other than Rashida, they're all terrible.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
are we going right into Israel? Are we spinning? What are we doing?
I think we got to get to Israel. We can't ignore Israel today.
All
so let's just pretend we landed on Israel, or we landed on a shot first, didn't we?
If we're pretending, we might as well pretend that we just landed on a shot.
We landed on a shot.
I can pretend. Acting.
Because you have COVID, and I just really want to have you drink a lot because that's going to be.
It's supposed to be really good for your immune system. The more alcohol, the better. Cheers. Oh my God.
Devin called. It's only because Devin's here.
Thanks, Devin. All right. Oh, so we're just going to go right into Israel?
Yeah, let's go into Israel.
All right.
Because we know we need $106 billion.
Oh my
at
God.
least.
We need 106 at least. Okay, I don't know. There's so many different places to go with what's happening. All right. Israel, Biden asks for $106 billion. We already said Raytheon is beside itself thrilled. What's better than one war, two or three? This, I think, is really interesting to see the breakdown in demographics. Israel's military response to Hamas attacks is fully justified. 65 years and older, 81% support. 50 to 64, 56. 35 to 49, only 44% support, and 18 to 34-year-olds, 27% support Israel's response. So, the children are our future, but Israel's killing all of the ones in Palestine. And, over here, we're giving more money to cops and calling everybody a domestic terrorist to protest capitalism or climate disasters or police. So, they know time isn't on their side because young people see what's happening and they're going to do everything to stop it.
Just to put that graphic up again, like there's some hope in this, right?
Yeah.
So this shows you that, what it really shows you, there's some lived experience, with older people understanding what happened with Israel and the Holocaust and what not more than younger people. But the Holocaust is still taught as like a number one evil in the world. It's not like kids don't understand that happened.
Right.
But they're getting their news on the events in Israel from a different source.
Right.
They're not so beholden to the propaganda as the last generation, and every generation is a little bit less. And so, there's hope in that. Like the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, we're seeing more actual coverage of the crimes in Palestine.
We are.
And not, they frame it all overall as sort of like this necessary evil sort of,
right.
Like clearly Israel's the better of the two,
According
maybe they should do things a little nicer,
Right.
And the reason they're putting it that way is because they know they're losing that 81 and over audience, and it's transitioning, and they have no chance of a future audience if they turn too many people off. Which is the only reason they have to cover some of this. So that is making a difference.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But
go ahead.
Well, I just want to add, but the danger with that is because the tide is turning, in my opinion, on the public opinion so quickly on Palestine and Israel. Israel is going to try to get away with as much as possible now. Like this is their window of blanket U.S. support to do whatever atrocity they need to, and then they can recover from it a year from now and just, rebrand
make
themselves.
amends, apologize.
But yeah, they won't, if the U.S. hits a point where funding can't pass for them, then they have to change how they act. And now they have one last shot at this $106 billion, which is why we have to stop the $106 billion.
Yeah.
They're going to take it and commit all these atrocities in our name.
That is correct. And, it is always just amazing because, it's the whole, the Obama boys, the speechwriters, the David Plouffe and John Favreau, who they love to do that Green Lantern theory when it's a Democrat in power, right? Like he's not that powerful. He can't do everything. But meanwhile, whenever there's a Republican in power, they get everything they want. Even when they're not in power, they somehow can stifle anything Democrats want, right? So there's a thing of like, well, Biden can't tell Israel what to do.
Literally.
Here is Biden officials say the U.S. can't make Israel agree to de-escalate. Got to put my readers on, friends. To de-escalate or to a ceasefire. Yet Israel's defense minister says that Israel is in no position to say no to the U.S. when it makes demands. During this meeting, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant was pressed on why the government agreed to allow humanitarian aid into Gaza from Egypt before the hostages had been returned. The Americans insisted, and we're not in a place where we can refuse them. We rely on them for planes and military equipment. What are we supposed to do? Tell them no? So once again, of course we have the power. We are their pocketbook. They can't do it without us. And then, this is a scholar of genocide, Israeli historian and genocide scholar Raz Siegel says Israeli leaders' dehumanizing language about Palestinians in Gaza and the IDF's conduct are cause for alarm. We're seeing the combination of genocidal acts with special intent. This is indeed a textbook case of genocide.
That's why you always hear. That's why the lie about 40 beheaded babies is so atrocious. It's because that dehumanizes all of the opposition, which
Right.
if you were truly against, like, back in Spartan times, an army that attacked and fought differently, where they truly were raping and pillaging and chopping off children's heads and killing the women and awful, awful, awful stuff.
Right.
It justifies you fighting back in a different way
Right.
that enables all this force to be used that's not justified. So yeah, you might have killed 1,000 children, but they won't report that number. But
Right.
these are barbarians we're fighting. We have
Yeah.
to stop them because
Right.
they are so evil. And
Exactly.
meanwhile, you're committing 10,000 times the evil.
Exactly. Just 2 days ago, Israel killed at least 400 Palestinians. And that bottom part, there were also strikes in South Gaza where Israeli forces told people to flee to. So they tell people to flee, and we saw that happen at Rafah also. They flee there, and then they're bombed. The collective punishment of what's happening at hospitals, right? Like turning off the electricity and the water means operations are being done with, I think hospital workers are drinking saline solution.
Okay.
Operations are being done because they can't get medicine with no painkillers. There's no way to sanitize the areas that they're in, and the hospitals are overrun, not only because there's so many civilians with injuries, but also because people look at hospitals as a safe haven when they're being told to evacuate. So operations are happening in the midst of halls, which is, yeah.
And all this is being used as like humanitarian efforts. It's being spun like, well, because of the US's effort, we've forced some humanitarian aid to come into the country.
22 trucks or something.
The aid that is coming to the country is so
minuscule in comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't match the level of need on any level whatsoever. There is no fuel. So they are not letting any fuel into the country. These hospitals, like you were just talking about the sanitation. So I read an article where it was the hospitals can't sanitize without the fuel. They can't sanitize their equipment even. So there's a chemical that they use that's an old chemical they haven't used in ages, and they're running out of that chemical. They're already out of that chemical because that was last week that I heard that or read that.
Yeah.
So they're already out of the chemical that sanitizes equipment to perform surgeries. And so now you can't have a surgery, which,
Right.
yeah, incubator babies, like there are just dead babies, like hundreds of dead babies for sure, because you can't, how can they survive? How can these babies move? They don't have, there's no electricity for the incubators. The generators don't work because backup generators rely on fuel.
Yep.
It's fuel. That's what runs the backup generators to provide electricity. Cut the electricity off. You don't allow fuel in. You don't have water. You don't have sanitizing equipment. You have all these people living in small quarters. Like there's the population per square, the density, it's the most dense population in the world.
That's right. That's right. This is from Mint Press News, just to show this didn't just start. These war crimes and the genociding of the Palestinians has been going on for a while, but this lists it pretty succinctly.
Here's every hospital Israel's bombed in the last 10 years. And schools. Refugee camps. Now Israel is saying that this hospital bombing wasn't them. And sure, they ordered all the hospitals in Gaza to evacuate 3 days before the bombing. And sure, the Al Ahli staff said they got phone calls for 3 straight days before the bombing telling them to evacuate. And of course, there's also the multiple tweets Israel deleted shortly after the bombing, and the laughably fake phone call Israel claimed to have intercepted between 2 Palestinian militants, the Al Jazeera investigation, which completely debunks Israel's claim that a Palestinian rocket fell on the hospital, the multiple military veterans that have said the projectile sounds exactly like a US manufactured missile. And of course, there's also the fact that Israeli generals and politicians have been promising to flatten Gaza for the last 2 weeks, saying there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. And yeah, they turned off all the electricity to Gaza, all but collapsing the hospital system a week before the bombing. And I know what you're probably thinking right now. Israel did it. But here's the thing. This is what experts call anti-Israel bias.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been very explicit that that they see all Palestinians as being born terrorists. They are the enemy, that they are not civilians, that Hamas and Palestinians are the same. This was on CNN with almost no pushback. The war is not just with Hamas. The war is with all civilians. That was Israeli soldier Talisha. I mean, Abby Phillips is not really up to the task. I don't think she's got a real grasp of history or what's happening in that part of the world. But once you cross that line, which, as you said, is exactly why they say, they use their children as human shields.
Yeah, we've heard that for 20 years.
And, Betzalem did a whole study on it. There's actually no proof of that. But even if there were, if the idea is Hamas is taking children and using them as human shields because they think that these lives are more precious, and then is Israeli or the IDF shoots both the child and the terrorist, who values that life less? I mean, I don't know. You have to sort of choose a lane, right? Are you trying to protect the children or not? If you think it is so barbaric to hide behind a child, what does it mean to shoot the child to get to the terrorist?
And that's the exact logical piece that, like, all their propaganda works to fight against. You don't ask that question.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. I saw a couple. There's a million of them. Oh, I forgot to pull the damn one up. Anyway, here's the playbook. I mean, this is what they do. Israel style public relations. One, we haven't heard reports of deaths. We'll check it out. So anytime you point out a war crime, clear as all day. That's the first thing. Number two, the people were killed, but by a faulty Palestinian rocket and bomb. That's the one we're applying to the hospital. And then the next phase is, okay, we killed them, but they were terrorists. Okay, they were civilians, but they were being used as human shields. Okay, there were no fighters in the area, so it was our mistake, but we kill civilians by accident. They do it on purpose. Okay, we kill far more civilians than they do, but look at how terrible other countries are. Why are you still talking about Israel? Are you some kind of anti-Semite?
And that is how so many conversations go.
But I just want to point out.
Yeah.
And we have some. Well, maybe we should show that the stuff by actual, by the public first, the Israeli public that is used. I mean, I don't know. Oh, all right. Here's the Israel themselves. The point is, Israel, like, you can put a lot of this stuff on the worst extremist people in Israel when you see some bad tweets and bad things,
right,
and racist stuff from them that's really dehumanizing against Palestinians. But Israel themselves, the country of Israel account has put out some awful shit.
Right.
I mean, how does this meet the level of the moment that you're having this war? If you are really pushed into a corner and you have to accidentally kill babies and kids, do you put out this tweet? Like, does that?
Yeah, it's missing an element of gravity during this horrifying situation. I think because this is happening now at a time when there is much more accessibility to independent media, to people with cell phones who are documenting what's happening, the lies, the propaganda, the indoctrination is not working as well anymore. And I think, it terrifies me because I think you're right. Like the desperation and knowing that they have a small window, I think will likely push them to do as much violence as possible. But, I wanted to go back a second to, I don't know, talking about the hostages and the releasing of hostages and how the hostages are treated. There was the 2 women who were released, and the headline was, "We went through hell." And someone pointed out that within the piece in Haaretz, so the headline is of these 2 women, "I went through hell. Israeli grandmother recounts Hamas captivity. She says the government deserted us." 85-year-old woman, I'm going to mispronounce her name, Yaakov Lifshitz, was one of 2 women freed late on Monday, leaving around 220 hostages still in the hands of Hamas. At a Tel Aviv hospital, she revealed Hamas's Gaza tunnels, medical treatment, and recounted the violent kidnapping on October 7th. And there was somebody on the left, a pro-Palestinian person, who juxtaposed the headline with some screenshots, which we'll show in a second, of how they were treated at different points, where they were cleaned, they were given medicine, some were given antibiotics, they were given beds. And that is true. That exists within that article. It's also true that she talks about, bones being broken as they were attacked. Let me just see where this is here. They went rampant in our kibbutz, describing how Hamas terrorists laid me on a motorcycle, sped through a thicket. She added that those who took her beat her with sticks during the ride. She got hurt in the ribs. She had trouble breathing. I don't want to minimize what happened to the people who were kidnapped, the people who were killed, and the people who remain hostages. I'm not pro-Hamas on any level. I don't think that any innocent people should be killed or taken as hostages. But what we are learning more and more, and we talked about this, there was the article from Mondeweiss last week, where one of the young women, I can't remember if it was, I think she was from a kibbutz, said that most of the people who were killed by IDF soldiers who went in and just started shooting on a rampage. As more stories like that come out, we are being reminded of this, it's called the Hannibal Doctrine, which is that the Israeli commanders they give the green light to bomb houses, kill everybody, including the hostages, in order to get the terrorists, that they're not making an effort to save the hostages. And so after a while, the US State Department stopped releasing details of how some of the American victims were actually killed, because in the confusion, I think there's been some realization that it was not all by Hamas, and some of it could have been prevented. We see reports of Israel saying that they don't want these hostages released because it will only delay their ability to go into a ground incursion. If that's the mindset, that you don't want to save innocent people because you're so hungry for the war, I don't think you're really looking out for the hostages or the innocent people or any of our safety.
And if you look at how the U.S. has historically treated U.S. hostages, like, we will drop everything and fight, we'll lose 50 people and a ship, a plane, whatever, to save one hostage, because it exerts our might in the world that, you know, you are from the America. We are going to
Right.
fight tooth and nail for you. And here we are openly acknowledging, well, not acknowledging, but tacitly
Endorsing.
acknowledging
Yeah.
that Israel is bombing tunnels which they know contain hostages, which they know contain American hostages,
Right.
and like not even targeted. I mean, they're just bombing everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line, is they're not actually targeting any of this stuff. They don't have the intel they claim they have. They're just
Right.
bombing the country to advance their agenda. But for the US to be this
Complicit.
apathetic about American hostages in another country getting killed by our ally, and none of this is making us safer. I mean, the idea that we're safer because Israel is the one like good force over in the Middle East, when they're the most hated force over in the Middle East. I mean, you want to create terrorism, you want to create terrorists, you want to create organizations that hate America, back Israel while it genocides a whole fucking country in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, think tanks are saying right now this is a great opportunity. An Israeli think tank with ties to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a report on October 17th promoting the unique and rare opportunity for the relocation and final settlement of the entire Gaza population. In addition, up until today, where I think it was released that they killed a general of Hamas, yesterday, here are the Hamas officials believed to have been killed since October 7th. And that bottom part, at least 13 of the casualties have been Hamas officials, according to statements by the group or by the Israeli military. Some of the deaths could not be independently verified. So after all of these killings, destroying all of Gaza, they're saying 13 were from Hamas.
And this is such a tight, small country. Like, it's a small area within a country. That number is probably just entirely made up because they're bombing the country. Like, this is not a targeted attack.
Right.
They are bombing Palestinians, period.
Yes. And they've now moved to the West Bank, which does not have Hamas, right? They're bombing the West Bank. They are carrying out strikes on Jenin. And then, you know, and listen, I haven't seen it. I'm sure it happens. I'm sure Hamas does torture also. But IDF and settlers are binding, stripping, beating, burning, and urinating on Palestinians in the West Bank. Again, those are not Hamas terrorists. They're not up in the West Bank. And, you know, they're bombing Syrian airports. They are burning parts of Lebanon. This is becoming an all-out war in the Middle East. And the calls for ceasefire are being silenced, and anybody who calls out for that or describes this correctly as a genocide is suffering consequences. So much so that even the State Department, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just.
Well, no, I mean, if you say, hey, killing 5,000 people, half of which are under 18, most likely, to get 13 people, the bombing part is immoral. Like, that's not, nobody can support that. And hey, food and water, and electricity and fuel, and telling people to leave hospitals and bombing hospitals, that's immoral. Can we talk about that? No, our government is making it okay. It's okay. Like, the rash firings in this country now over supporting Palestine and just calling that stuff out. We're not talking about like pro-Hamas people. We're not talking about like,
right.
We're just talking about people pointing out clear war crimes. Like, this is not ambiguous. Nobody's like, hey, oh, that's a war crime. This is UN standards.
Right.
And the UN people are being bombed, and the UN isn't even calling out the bomb.
Yeah, I mean that's also
slide?
crazy.
Where's that
Like, yeah, it's
here.
that's way up here. You found it, yeah.
Israel has killed
yeah.
29 UN workers already, and they're not even calling it out.
They're
That's
not
the
naming,
power-
right? Yeah,
That's
they're
the
not
power
naming
the
it.
U.S. has over the entire world of all this propaganda bullshit. This is why we are not the good guys, right here.
Yeah, we are definitely not the good guys here. Yeah, and then this is just so incredibly sad. An Al Jazeera journalist was on air when he found out that his wife, son, and daughter, who had gone to a shelter house, were killed there when an Israeli airstrike targeted a place that's supposed to be a safe house.
And here's Anthony Blinken saying he asked Qatar to change Al Jazeera's Israel coverage report. He was an Al Jazeera reporter. This is him over here on the right that they're talking about. They bombed the family of his, killing his wife, son, daughter, and others. One of the most prominent voices covering the war. And the U.S. is telling them to squash this reporting. And then he gets bombed. His family gets bombed at a safe house.
Jesus. Yeah. Okay. We have a couple of videos. What time is it? Oh wow, it's getting really late. I don't know. Which way do you want to go on this? The new McCarthyism? What do you want? It's just pretty devastating. We're seeing more and more people who try to speak out, especially in Hollywood, which does serves no benefit for Jewish people who have been accused of running the world and running Hollywood and running money, to then have anybody who is pro-Palestine, be fired. But so CAA's co-head of film, Maha Dakil, resigns from board and steps away from leadership after a controversial social media post, which was, "You're currently learning who supports genocide." That should not be controversial. We showed an Israeli expert on genocide saying that this is a textbook genocide. This next one was really sort of striking. It's the writer of Borat 2 calling out Oscar-nominated writer who got there without an agent. Yes, that's a flex. So I don't give a fuck about deferring to agents. No one will stop me making a living. I'll drive a cab if needed. So let me tell you about the disgrace of Kitty Lang, head of comedy at United Agents. It turns out that her crime was reposting. If you're confused about which side to be on, there's a global, multiracial, multi-faith, popular movement for justice and solidarity with Palestine. There isn't one for Israel. She reposted that, and she reposted this. Al-Shifa Hospital, a sanctuary amidst the rubble in Gaza City, is now wrestling with a looming crisis: power cuts that could cut short numerous lives. And the person reposting the Associated Press article says, "Y'all were excited to repost the fake beheaded babies, but these real babies now have mere hours left." And she reposted that. There were a few other posts that she retweeted, but they were all along those lines. Nothing was calling for the genocide of Israelis, which most people who are saying do whatever it takes to Palestinians are actually endorsing a genocide. Like, nothing that she did was supporting anybody who was calling for that, right? But that was enough. She's now issued an apology.
That's the real danger in all this is, they're stifling, they're shutting down voices, just calling for
a ceasefire
or peace negotiations. Yeah. Like, you're not allowed to do that. Like the U.S. we were the only country to block
The UN resolution for a ceasefire.
yeah, the UN resolution to negotiate. I mean, and when all these people are losing their jobs in the US for their positions on this stuff,
Yeah.
this is why, like, I mean, I do agree on some level with keeping political views safe from your job. Like, I mean, unless your job is an ambassador or brand of a company, like, let people should be able to speak their minds, because this is like
McCarthyism.
clear. She's calling for humanitarian stuff. She's not saying
Right.
I stand with Hamas
Right.
or anything even at that level.
No,
And
it's just for decades now, anybody who is at all supportive of Palestinian rights has been equated with being anti-Semitic. If you speak out against Zionism or policies of Israel, they try to smear you as being anti-Semitic. And I think that's why there's been so much attention on Jewish-led protests against the Israeli government, including parents of or families of the hostages who've been arrested in Israel, who are being targeted in Israel for calling for a ceasefire. But there is an enormous movement by Jews for peace and for Palestinian rights. And the reason that's so important isn't because there haven't been other people pushing for that for decades, but it is to show people that it is not anti-Semitic. In fact, it very much adheres to everything I, as a Jewish person, was brought up believing in human dignity and life, and never again. Because it doesn't just mean for Jewish people. It means there should be no extermination of a whole people by anybody.
It's like patriotism. Patriotism is nonsense if the beliefs put forward by your government are garbage. Like, the most patriotic thing you can do in America is push back against fascism and censorship and anything that's bad. I mean, it's just like you want your country to be better. So if you're Jewish, you shouldn't carte blanche support your government while they commit war crimes. I mean, obviously, this is
right,
not rocket
and
science.
there's lots of
but
protests in Israel as well.
Yeah, but tons of Israelis don't support what Netanyahu's doing. I mean, like,
Right.
I don't know what the numbers are. I'm just going to throw out half because I like to make numbers up. But
I think it's even less than that, because the first week, was it last week, we showed a comparison between the U.S. support for Israeli actions and the Israeli support, which was much, much lower. Yeah. And then you have to start thinking, like, what are we talking about? What are we protecting? What is a democracy where you're not allowed to speak out for human rights? You know, now is not the time to have that conversation. It's never the time.
right, and I mean, I think what people are missing, and we kind of touched on it, but the U.S. has incredible power to affect how Israel responds to this. Like, we supply their defense. We supply $100 billion, like $80 billion of it or something was going to them, you know, in the bill. And that's just like the next proposal. Like, we already have financed the next, you know, like 3-4 months of this war, regardless of this next bill. Like, it
Right.
doesn't even matter. We're already just like, yeah, whatever Israel does, we co-sign.
Right.
Carte
Yeah, we're bringing
blanche.
our troops over there.
But we didn't show Blinken on TV yet, because he doesn't have an answer for why not a ceasefire. And, you know, I mean, if you're going to pretend to be the moral authority on things, I mean, a ceasefire, like, is this complicated?
Right.
Turning the page to what has happened during the following 2 weeks, UNICEF says 1,524 children have been killed in the Gaza Strip during these bombings. Why isn't the U.S. calling for at least a temporary ceasefire?
First, Margaret, when I hear the stories, when I see the pictures of young children who have lost their lives in this conflict of Hamas is making, whoever they are, wherever they are, whether they're Palestinians, whether they're Israelis, whether they're Jews or Muslims. It hits me, and I know it hits virtually everyone, right in the heart. And that's why it's so important to do everything possible to protect them, and why it's so important to do everything possible to get assistance to those who need it.
So
Food,
why not
medicine,
ask for
water.
at least a temporary pause in the bombing, as was proposed at the UN this week?
We've seen, first of all, that in order to get assistance in, we've had that happen. And you saw the first 20 trucks go in yesterday. I expect more will follow today and the day after that. We want to make sure that we have sustained delivery of food, medicine, water, the things that people need. At the same time, I said something a minute ago that we have to remember. Israel has to do everything it can to make sure this doesn't happen again. Freezing things in place where they are now would allow Hamas to remain where it is and to repeat what it's done sometime in the future. No country could accept that.
I wonder what would happen if instead of 20 trucks, there were 2,000, and there was an enormous humanitarian effort to rebuild and help infrastructure and make sure that everybody had a place to live. I mean, at this point, I don't know how anybody who lives through what's happened in Gaza for the last 2 weeks now. I mean, that has to be a generation of people who will hate
America
with every last drop of their being the Israeli government. There is no way.
But they'll hate the Israeli government, but
and the U.S. government.
They will know that it couldn't have happened without the U.S. government.
Yep.
Because we are the only people without our support. The UN doesn't allow this.
Right.
The rest of our ally, the only people that even sort of, like they won't touch the war crimes, but they will endorse and support and allow this stuff to happen are our allies because of us.
Yep.
Because of us. That's it. There's no, they don't have, we are the idea that we have an interest in Israel. I mean, the basic idea, if you believe these people, is that they're the rational people in the Middle East. And there are, because of that, and it's weird that they're like the white folks over in the Middle East, but
interesting.
There are one true ally over there. But when your true ally is committing the war crimes, you aren't the moral authority, which means all these other countries over there have a right to hate America and have a right to hate Israel. And this is not good for our security. You think that's good for our security? You ignored the last 40 years of Middle Eastern policy.
Exactly. Which once again brings me back to Biden is George W. Bush. Hey, it's almost 7. This was such a light, fun, cheery show. We did not get to COVID. Did we? I can't even remember.
I don't know.
Did we get to COVID? I don't think we did. We talked about my COVID. I thank you all for your suggestions. I will be getting that ginger. I do just want everybody to know there were 1,600 deaths this week, just this week.
Post-COVID. 1,600 post-COVID deaths.
And also, like polio, COVID is now a disease of the young. As of December 2022, which was the last month without unacceptable lag, excess deaths from all diseases among the young and healthy were running 1,500 deaths a month above historic levels, which is 18,000 a year. So put a mask on.
Yeah, please.
And avoid it. Yeah.
It works. Look, so the UK is bringing back masks somewhat.
In hospitals.
To fight COVID and the flu. But weird how the flu drops. The blue line is the flu.
The blue line at the bottom. Yeah.
Clearly, it's not to fight the flu. At least just fucking say it. It's because of COVID.
It is
Idiots.
COVID. It is COVID. And my last PSA, and I need more details, but the group of activists who fought to get Novavax approved for everybody, even if you had mRNA initial dosages and boosters. So I just did get my Novavax, but they are now saying that they're going to write more on it and disseminate this information. If you do get Novavax, you still need to get a second Novavax dose 2 months later after your first Novavax, and then a third one 6 months later to be completely immunized, whatever that means.
Right.
Yeah. And then once a year. But when we know that information for sure, we'll put it out. But cheery show.
But
love you all for hanging with us. Yeah.
I was going to chime in on COVID, but I mean, that seems, to the best of our knowledge right now, to be the right thing. I'm no expert, but I read a lot of stuff and follow this closely. It seems like the best thing you can do is get Novavax, which, as Lila, I almost call you Lola, which Lila said, it takes the 3 doses eventually to get yourself fully vaccinated with that. But then you have a traditional vaccine, you have the mRNA vaccine. It is probably the best thing you can do. So I could be wrong. There's that.
There's that. My name's Lila. Lila Charles Lee.
Lila Charlie Sly.
We love you guys. Be safe out there for Halloween. Thank you for hanging out with us. Keep punching up. Stay safe, everybody. Cheers.